Translation: in the period of the 8th Manu, among the demigods will be the Sutapas, the Virajas, and the Amrita Prabhas. The king of the demigods, Indra, Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman ki jai, Shri Dayal Nitai. The king of the demigods, Indra, will be Bali Maharaj, the son of Virochan. Okay, so there's no purport. I'll just read on. I've been asked to read on to the end of the chapter because there's only one very brief purport in the whole rest of the section to the end of the chapter. So I'll read through to the end and then go back to the verse that's got the purport and then speak on that. Tatve mam yachamanaya Vishnaveya padatrayam Radamindra padam hitva tata siddhim avapsyati. Bali Maharaj gave a gift of 3 paces of land to Lord Vishnu, and because of this charity, he lost all the 3 worlds. Later, however, when Lord Vishnu is pleased because of Bali's giving everything to him, Bali Maharaj will achieve the perfection of life. This is the one with the short purport, which is purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.3, it is stated, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of many millions of people, one may attempt to achieve success in life. This success is explained here. Radam indrapadam hitva tata siddhim avapsyati. Siddhi consists of achieving the favor of Lord Vishnu, not the yoga siddhis. The yoga siddhis, anima, lagima, mahima, prapti, prakamya, ishitva, vashitva, and kama vashayita, are temporary. The ultimate siddhi is to achieve the favor of Lord Vishnu. Text 14. Yoso bhagavata badha pritena sutale punaha niveshito dike svargad adunaste svarad iva. With great affection, the personality of God had bound Bali and then installed him in the kingdom of Sutala, which is more opulent than the heavenly planets. Maharaj Bali now resides on that planet and is more comfortably situated than Indra. Texts 15 to 16. Galavo diptiman ramo drona putra kripastata Rishya shringa pitasmakam bhagavan badarayanaha. Ime sapta rishayastatra bhavishyanti svayogataha idanim asate rajan sve sva ashrama mandale. O king, during the 8th Manvantar, the great personalities Galava, Diptiman, Parashuram, Ashvatam, Kripacharya, Rishyashringa, and our father Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Narayan, will be the 7 sages. For the present, they are all residing in their respective ashrams. Deva Guhyat Sarasvatyam Sarvabhoma iti Prabhuhu Stanam Purandaradritva Balaye Dasyatishvaraha. In the 8th Manvantar, the greatly powerful personality of Godhead, Sarvabhauma, will take birth. His father will be Deva Guhya, and his mother will be Sarasvati. He will take the kingdom away from Purandar, Lord Indra, and give it to Bali Maharaj. Navamo Daksha Sarvarnir Manur Varuna Sambhavaha Bhutaketur diptaketur ityadyastat sutan ripa. O king, the 9th Manu will be Daksha Sarvarni, who is born of Varuna. Among his sons will be Bhutaketu and Diptaketu. Text 19. Paramarichigarbhadya Deva Indrod Bhuta Smritaha Dyutimat Pramukastatra Bhavishyanti Rishyastataha. In this 9th Manvantar, the Paras and the Marichigarbhas will be among the demigods. The king of heaven, Indra, will be named Adbhuta, and Dyutiman will be among the 7 sages. Ayushmatom Buddharayam Rishabo Bhagavat Kala Bhavitayena Samradam Trilokim Bokshated Bhutaha. Rishabdev, a partial incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will take birth from his father Ayushman, and his mother Ambudar. He will enable the Indra named Adbhuta to enjoy the opulence of the 3 worlds. Dashamo Brahmasarvarnir Upashloka Sutamanu Tatsuta Burishenadya Havishmat Pramukadvijaha. The son of Upashloka, known as Brahmasarvarni, will be the 10th Manu. Burishrena will be among his sons, and the Brahmanas, headed by Havishman, will be the 7 sages. Havishman Sukrita Satyo Jayo Murtis Tada Dvijaha Suvasana Virudadya Deva Shambhu Sureshvaraha. Havishman, Sukrita, Satya, Jaya, Murti and others will be the 7 sages. The Suvasanas and the Virudas will be among the demigods, and Shambhu will be their king, Indra. Vishvakseno Vishukyam tu Shambho Sakyam Karishyati Jata Swamshena Bhagavan Grihe Vishvarjo Grihe Vishvarsrijo Vibhu. In the home of Vishvarashtra, a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear from the womb of Vishuchi as the incarnation known as Vishvaksena. He will make friends with Shambhu. Manurvai Dharma Sarvarnir Ekadam Shama Atmavan Anagatas Tatsutascha Satya Dharma Dayo Dashaha. In the 11th Manvantar, the Manu will be Dharma Sarvarni, who will be extremely learned in spiritual knowledge. From him there will come 10 sons, headed by Satya Dharma. Vihangama Kamagama Nirvana Ruchaya Suraha Indrascha Vaidritastesham Rishayashcharunadayaha. The Vihangamas, the Kamagamas, Nirvanuruchis and others will be the demigods. The king of the demigods, Indra, will be Vaidritya. And the 7 sages will be headed by Aruna. Arakasya sutastatra dharma seturiti smritaha Vaidritayam harer amshas Trilokim Darayishyati. The son of Aryaka, known as Dharmasetu, a partial incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will appear from the womb of Vaidrita, the wife of Aryaka, and will rule the three worlds. Bhavita Rudra Sarvani Rajan Dvadashamo Manu Devavan Upadevascha Deva Shreshta Daya Sutaha. O king, the 12th Manu will be named Rudra Sarvani, Devavan, Upadeva. O king, the 12th Manu will be named Rudra Sarvani. Devavan, Upadeva, and Deva Shreshta will be among his sons. I hope everyone's having as much fun as I am. There's another maybe 7 or 8 verses. Rita Dharma Tatatrendro Devascha Haridattayaha Haritadayaha Rishayascha Tapomurtis Tapasvyagni Drakadayaha. In this Manvantar, the name of Indra will be Ritad Dharm, and the demigods will be headed by the Haritas. Among the sages will be Tapomurti, Tapasvi, and Agnidraka. Svadamakyo Harer Amsha Sadayishyati Tanmano Antaram Satya Sahasa Sunritaya Suto Vibhu. From the mother came Sunrita, and the father named Satyasaha. Will come Svadharma, a partial incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He will rule that Manvantar. Manus Trayo Dasho Bhavyo Devasarvarnir Atmavan Chitrasena Vichitradya Devasarvani Dehajaha. The 13th Manu will be named Devasarvarni, and he will be very advanced in spiritual knowledge. Among his sons will be Chitrasena and Vichitra. Deva Sukarma Sutrama Samgya Indro Divaspatihi Nirmoka Tattvadarshadya Bhavishyanti Rishyastada. In the 13th Manvantar, the Sukamas and the Sutramas will be among the demigods. Divaspati will be the king of heaven, and Nirmoka and Tattvadarsha will be among the 7 sages. Devahotrasya Tanaya Upaharta Divaspate Yogeshvaro Hareramsho Brihatyam Sambhavishyati. The son of Devahotra, known as Yogeshvara, will appear as a partial incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His mother's name will be Brihati, and he will perform activities for the welfare of Divaspati. Manurva Indra Sarvanish Chatur Dashama Eshyati Uru Gambira Buddhaidya Indra Sarvani Viryajaha. The name of the 14th Manu will be Indra Sarvani. He will have sons like Uru, Gambira, and Buddha. Pavitras Chakshusha Deva Shuchir Indro Bhavishyati Agnir Bahu Shuchi Shudho Magadadyas Tapashvinaha. The Pavitras and Chakshushas will be among the demigods, and Shuchi will be Indra, the king of heaven. Agni, Bahu, Shuchi, Shudha, Magadha, and others of great austerity will be the great 7 sages. Satrayanasya Tanayo Brihad Banus Tadahari Vitanayam Maharaja Kriyatantun Vitayata. O King Parikshit, in the 14th Manvantar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear from the womb of Vitana, and his father's name will be Satrayan. The incarnation will be celebrated as Brihad Banu, and he will administer spiritual activities. Rajams Chatur Dashaitani Trikalanu Gatani Te Proktanya Birmita Kalpo Yuga Sahasraparyanaha. O King, I have now described to you the 14 Manus appearing in the past, present and future. The total duration of time ruled by these Manus is 1,000 Yuga cycles. This is called a Kalpa, or 1 day of Lord Brahma. And thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Description of Future Manus. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born blinded by the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual masters are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, and I therefore offer my humble obeisances unto them. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnapstaya Bhutale Srimate Shri Dayananda Goswaminita Namane. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnapstaya Bhutale Srimate Shivaram Swaminita Namane. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnapstaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminita Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharna Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pashkachandishtarni Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langaite Grim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundina Taranam. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godadaya Pushpanvanto Chitra Shanda Tamodado Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chava Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Nashta Prashu Badashu Nityam Bhagavati Sebhya Bhagavati Ratamashloki Bhakti Bharvati Naishtiki. Okay, so the verse with the purport. Datvemam yachamanaya Vishnaveya padatrayam Radam Indra padam hitva tata siddhim avapsyati. Bali Maharaj gave a gift of 3 paces of land to Lord Vishnu, and because of this charity he lost all the 3 worlds. Later, however, when Lord Vishnu is pleased because of Bali's giving everything to him, Bali Maharaj will achieve the perfection of life. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.3 it is stated, Manushanam sahasrashu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of many millions of people, one may attempt to achieve success in life. This success is explained here. Radam indrapadam hitva tataha siddhim avapsiti. Siddhi consists of achieving the favor of Lord Vishnu, not the yoga siddhis. The yoga siddhis, anima, lagama, mahima, prapti, prakamya, ishitva, vashitva, and kama vashayata, are temporary. The ultimate siddhi is to achieve the favor of Lord Vishnu. Just one preliminary point. We're reading all through these names. Names, more names and even more names. That most of them we don't even have any reference, who they are or who the person signifies. So, one school of thought would be, well, it's not really relevant to read all these names. Let's just go to Krishna's pastimes and, get into that. And that would be a mistake, because where that would mean that our mind is determining the process of self-realization, or is making the adjustments, is doing some fine-tuning to the process. We should simply accept the process. I think the term is in toto, as it is, and just let the process run its course and have its desired effect upon us. So it's important that we read these verses with all of these obscure names that are very hard to pronounce. Just in reading them, we're being purified. And another interesting aspect is that it's incredible detail about what's happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. So much detail about the names of the person's father and what his function was and who he was taking shelter of, and etc., etc. Now, someone might say, well, how do you verify any of that? How do you verify it? But there are other mentions in the Bhagavatam which we can verify. Certainly, what springs to mind immediately is Lord Buddha's mention, is there stated. And we of course, we have the confirmation of all the acharyas that this is bona fide information. So it's fascinating to think just how much detail and how much knowledge is in the Bhagavatam. And as we become purified, then all of this unfolds in its own course of time. So, one of Krishna's names is Urukrame, which means the great adventurer. And so the path of spiritual realization is also a great adventure. We should not hurry the process. Some people hurry the process. Prabhupada would say how, a woman might want to have a child, but there's a process, and she can't hurry the process. It just has to allow it to happen. And then this is requiring, of course, patience, humility. In the Nectar of Instruction, it says, Utsaha Nishchaya Daryat, enthusiasm, confidence, patience. This is very, it says, Sadbir Bhakti Prasidyati. These are the qualities that are favorable to becoming adept in practicing devotional service. Enthusiasm, confidence, and patience. Enthusiasm, of course, that's got to be there in any endeavor. And then confidence. Confidence is closely related to the word faith, having faith. Bhagavad Gita says that there's one verse that says that those who have confidence in this path of devotional service never take birth again. And those who do not have confidence, I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit. It's not coming to mind. But those who do not have confidence do not achieve the goal of life, do not achieve Krishna. Sorry, the verse escapes me. But it's saying about having faith on this path of devotional service. And those who do not have faith do not achieve Krishna consciousness. Something to that effect. So, having confidence that by following the process we achieve the goal of life and not hurrying the process, that's the point that I'm making. And in the purport it states here, I'm afraid this is probably going to be quite a short class because it's Haridas Thakur's appearance day. I wanted to just say a couple of things about him as well. But I'll just key in on one point here. It says that out of many millions of people, one may attempt to achieve success in life. And what this success is explained here. It is to simply please Krishna. It's not, the word siddhi doesn't refer to achieving, like bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, it says. This desire for opulence, sense gratification, liberation, and mystic perfections. It says that's a person's own sort of whims and desires. that's just something selfish, basically. It's not magnanimous, and it's not endearing to anybody. It's some person's own personal, selfish goal. And it says that a devotee, Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta, they're not peaceful. But Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, Ateva Shanta. Because a devotee doesn't have any of this selfishness, therefore they do become peaceful. So that's what perfection is meaning. That's what Prabhupada's saying in his purport. Perfection is referring to this quality of not being selfish and actually not being schizophrenic. Because our constitutional position is that we are not selfish. That is our identity. That is our constitutional nature, is that we're not meant to be selfish. So that is perfection, when you achieve a state of not being selfish. Now, very superficially, someone would think, okay, not being selfish, then they have this kind of Buddhistic concept of, I just won't interact with anything, I'll just be selfless. But that's also a misconception. And that's not perfection. Of course, the verses are there. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha. That if you're not attached to things, but you understand the Krishna Sambandha, the connection it has with Krishna, then that is Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Sitram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Dayal Nitai ki jai. Then that is actually what this perfection is talking about. Understanding something's relationship with Krishna, offering it to Krishna. Understanding that everything comes from Krishna. Even what we're offering to Krishna is belonging to Krishna. We're just offering what belongs to Krishna in the first place. Krishna is just giving us the facility, the opportunity, in the same way the analogy is given, the same way that a loving father, he'll give the child the money so that the child can buy him a birthday present. Because what's he doing? It's not that he needs the present. He just wants to teach the child how not to be selfish, how to be selfless, how to be giving. That's all he wants to teach the child, this quality, how to develop transcendental qualities. So Krishna's doing that with us. He's given us this whole material world to offer to him, so that we can have a loving relationship. And that's the purpose of it. And why is it that it says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhir, that so few people, achieve perfection? So few people even, it says, even aspire for perfection. The verse in the Gita says, so few people even aspire for perfection, and of those who aspire for perfection, hardly one knows Krishna in truth. Hardly one knows this concept that we're meant to be just in this loving exchange offering everything to Krishna. Hardly one knows this. Why is that? It's because people are attached, become attached. And that's where all the suffering in the material world comes from, is coming from attachment. Suffering is just it's a mental state. It's when you've allowed yourself to become attached, and then because it immediately creates a no-win situation. Because when we allow ourselves to become attached, we're this eternal soul, and we're in the material world, and we've allowed ourselves to become attached to something material. So there's two time factors pulling in different directions. One time factor is the eternal time factor of the soul, which is pulling towards eternity. The other time factor is the temporary aspect of the material nature, of material time, pulling in the other direction. So naturally there's conflict, and naturally, ultimately, there's separation. And upon that being separated from the object of your attachment, you suffer. That's the mechanics of suffering. But it's not that we aren't allowed to be attached. When we become attached to Krishna's service, then there's no pulling in different directions. It's all pulling in the same direction. People don't understand the mechanics of suffering. Don't understand it. Some people, on a really first base level, people can't understand how the cause of their suffering can be coming from a previous life. Very hard for people to sort of grasp that. But then even harder for them to grasp is the justice of why I'm suffering today here in this world for something that I'm not even aware of that I did in the previous life. I don't even know what I did in my last life to be causing myself to suffer in this life. How's that fair? And if I'm suffering, the suffering is for rectification. How is this rectification? How is God, how could He expect this rectification to work if I don't even know what I did wrong? Right? That's a kind of fair argument and a quite logical presentation. How is it that it's fair? And how can God expect it to have the desired effect of reforming me? When we're suffering and we can't understand why we're suffering, it's understandable that somebody can start to become resentful. Krishna, this isn't fair, I can't comprehend what could I have done to have deserved this? And sometimes devotees turn against Krishna because they think it's just tormenting. I don't see the purpose of this. So what's going on? Now, it's true, it's not possible for us to become introspective in this life. I mean, some people say they can go into past life regressions and then they can perceive what they did in the previous life, what sin they committed, what offense. Okay, but I'm not gonna say that that's a standard procedure, or that's something that's accessible to any of us. I certainly don't sort of see it as being accessible to me. So I'm ruling that out entirely. But what we can do by being introspective, by looking within, right? We can't sort of see the body that we were in the last life and see the bad thing that we did. We can't do that. But what carries from the last life is the consciousness, is the state of mind that committed the offense. So if we're introspective, we can still see certain dark areas of our psyche that reveal to us why we're suffering. And that gives us an insight. And then, like I started saying at the beginning, it's down to the fact, do we have faith? Are we patient to let the process unfold and run its course? So then, this is what knowledge is meant to do. Knowledge is meant to give us enlightenment about what is our existential situation. And this knowledge is, it comes from chanting, which purifies our consciousness, purifies our heart, comes from reading the books, and associating with Vaishnavas, and especially more advanced Vaishnavas. And then this gives us the strength. This gives us the strength and the faith. So, just mention a few things about Srila Haridas Thakur. It's been his disappearance day today. Haridas Thakur was born, we most of us know the story of Haridas Thakur, but he was born in a Mohammedan family, even though he was a inconceivably exalted Vaishnav. He took this birth in a lowly family, in a lowly caste. Part of the reason for that is to show all of us that it doesn't matter what the externals are of our situation, of what body we're in, or what family we're in, or even what situation. That's not relevant. What's relevant is what's inside. And so, the pastimes of Haridas Thakur reveal some of the foolishness that comes from judging on externals. For instance, the Nawab, saw this person the Nawab, who was the Muslim ruler, saw this person who was born in a Muslim family chanting Hare Krishna. It seemed that he's following a different tradition. Not seeing inside what's going on, what the actual meaning of Haridas Thakur's behavior was. He wasn't looking for the inner meaning. There was one video I saw of Sutapa Prabhu talking about, different religions, interfaith kind of thing. And he was saying how, the different genuine religions externally, he said they may manifest differently in terms of culture, in terms of appearance, and in terms of procedures. But if you look inside, all of them are addressing God. They're all attempting to develop their relationship with God. But the externals are different. So this is, an enlightened person. This is a broad-minded person, can see that, can see the beauty in other traditions, even though it's not identical to mine. And then sort of fundamentalist fanatics who are insecure and running away from themselves, they're the ones who only think that if it's not, who think Atmavan Manyate Jagat, if it's not the same as what I'm doing, there must be something wrong with it. So Haridas Thakur is giving us that lesson right off the bat. The Nawab, he took Haridas. He had Haridas Thakur brought to him, and then he more or less commanded him to just switch to becoming a Muslim. But Haridas Thakur refused, and so therefore he decided to punish him and had him whipped. He said, you ought to be whipped in 22 marketplaces, whipped in 22 marketplaces or until you die. That was the punishment. And then we know the story how the attendants who were taking Haridas Thakur to all the different marketplaces and whipping him started to realize that this is not an ordinary person, and started to realize this is actually a saint, and we're whipping this person who is a true saint. And by the time it came to 21 marketplaces, they were in despair. And so they said to Haridas Thakur that, we're in a difficult position because, of course, if we don't continue to whip you, and if we don't whip you till you die, then the consequences will be that the Nawab will kill us. And so then Haridas Thakur, when he heard this, because he's so compassionate, he went into a trance, and into such a trance that it was hard to tell whether he was alive or dead. So then the attendants took him to the Nawab. The Nawab wanted to humiliate him even more and didn't direct the attendants to cremate him. He directed them to just throw him in the river, which they did. And then Haridas Thakur floated down the river, and, further down the river he came out of trance and came onto the bank of the river and started chanting Hare Krishna, with full gusto and full enthusiasm again. And it's interesting that, Haridas Thakur is, I'm not sure about the details of this, but it's been in different scriptures, it's stated that he's a incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. So it's an interesting correlation that no matter what Hiranyakashipu tried to do to kill Prahlad Maharaj, he couldn't do it, because he was protected by Krishna. And no matter what the attendants did to try and kill Haridas Thakur, they couldn't do it, because he was being protected by Krishna. So there's a lovely correlation there. And in fact, somewhere, I'm not sure if it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but Lord Chaitanya explains that he took the whippings on his back. And Lord Chaitanya said that he would have killed those attendants for whipping his pure devotee. He had his Sudarshan chakra ready to kill them. Why didn't he kill them? Does anybody know? Yes. Yeah, because these people who are whipping him mercilessly, Haridas Thakur is praying with compassion in his heart for their welfare. So therefore Lord Chaitanya could not overrule the desire of his devotee. So he didn't kill them, but he took the whippings on his back. And then, it's not just, the Muslims who were envious, but even those within the Hindu tradition at that time, some of them were envious. They see this very exalted person. There's that story of one meeting of different Vaishnavas, and in the midst of them, I can't remember the chap's name, the person's name, but he was very aggressive towards Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was making this point that the holy name is so wonderful, it's so powerful, that even a faint light, nama bas, even a faint light of the holy name will grant one liberation. And this person said, that's not true, that can't be true. If that's true, then I don't know, somehow he threatened to cut his nose off. He made some statement. Does anyone know what the statement was? Ananda? Gopal Chakravarti, yeah, he said, if that's true, I'll cut your nose off, or something like that. Very aggressive. And then he ended up, of course, getting leprosy, and his own nose just melted off with leprosy. That was his kind of reaction. And then, in spite of him being in a Muslim family, in a low caste, Advaita Acharya saw the exalted nature of this personality, and in the Shraddha ceremony, he offered him the Shraddha Patra and honored him. And this caused a kind of stir amongst the Brahmin community. But some people transcend the externals. Advaita Acharya is such an example. The other pastimes, just briefly, is when another, I'm not sure if this person was a Muslim or just an envious person, but somebody sent a prostitute to ruin Haridas Thakur's reputation. And of course, Haridas Thakur simply remained fixed in his vow of chanting his rounds, and by the time he completed his rounds, the prostitute had been converted and become a Vaishnavi. There's a good thing there that, when this concept of your sadhana being inviolable, the concept of lines in stone. We've taken vows to chant 16 rounds, and then these 16 rounds should be chanted till the day we die, and there should be nothing between heaven and hell to stop us chanting those 16 rounds. And then all auspiciousness will come. Just as Haridas Thakur said, well, I've got to finish my rounds. Just one, it's a little bit of an aside and a little bit of trivia, but I just recently heard a lecture by Bir Krishna just on chanting, and Prabhupada was emphasizing this point. We must chant our 16 rounds a day, every day. We must do it. Prabhupada's really emphasizing it. And he said that we must chant our 16 rounds every day. That means within the 24-hour cycle. And if for some reason we can't fit all of our 16 rounds in on that day, then the ones we missed, we have to catch them up the next day. And this is what's interesting. The ones we missed, we have to catch them up the next day. And then Prabhupada said that we must fast until we've caught up yesterday's rounds. Then we can take prasadam, and then we can do our rounds for that particular day. And that's kind of serious, that's like that's conveying to me that the serious nature that these rounds are the foundation that we have to do. One other quick one is that Haridas Thakur used to chant in a cave on the bank of the Ganges. Some say it was a crocodile cave. Crocodiles sometimes dig caves, and it was one such cave that he was chanting in. And he was chanting, of course, 192 rounds a day, 300,000 names. And a snake lived in the cave. And devotees who would come to visit Haridas Thakur were kind of freaked out because there's this poisonous snake. And when Haridas Thakur realized there's this disturbance, he simply politely asked the snake, would you leave? And the snake left. And the other thing that happened in the cave is that Maya Devi came to try and break Haridas Thakur's vows. And more or less the same process happened with Maya Devi as happened with the prostitute. And I read how Maya Devi was in the habit of chanting Lord Ram's name, but not in the habit of chanting Lord Krishna's name. So by the mercy of Haridas Thakur, she sort of realized, oh, okay, this is even more wonderful to chant Krishna's name as well. And then I was going to read the parting of Haridas Thakur, but there's not really enough time. So there's a beautiful. It's in chapter 11 of the Anchalila, and I recommend everybody just have a quick look at that today on this auspicious day. So Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Is there any quick questions or comments before I close? Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.